All right. Hello and welcome to Movie Buffs, a show that covers the best action films of all time. I'm your host, Shani B. You can find me on all the socials at Shani. I, cha- I changed my handle. I changed my handle. Okay. You can find me on all the socials at It's Me, Shani B.
All right, yeah. Glad we got that covered. And I'm your other host, Cisco, aka Misfit Minded. You can find me on Twitter at rampage_misfit, and all my other movie pages are at misfit_minded on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Today, we're talking about the 2020 film Extraction, starring Chris Hemsworth, and a little bit later, we'll review the sequel, Extraction 2. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm very much looking forward to
Me
that.
too. Me too.
If you haven't seen the first Extraction, it's about a mourning mercenary who takes the job of extracting the son of a drug dealer from a rival drug dealer that kidnapped him. Pretty straightforward in the first
Yep.
one, but
hmm
also very balls to the walls. So,
Oh, yeah. We'll get
tell
into it.
me. Yeah, tell me your thoughts. What do you love about this movie? What do you hate? What are your feelings?
uh, it's pretty much the same I had, I guess, when I first saw it in 2020. Like, I probably liked it more the first time too, because like obviously 2020 we didn't have a lot going on,
That's
so I
true.
was like ready to take any action movie because there just wasn't anything coming to theaters. But revisiting it, I will say that it's kind of I'm kind of mixed on it this time around, just because we talked about the raid before, and it comes what was the not it comes at night. Fuck, I can't remember the raid guys other movie we did on here. I'll think of
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The night comes for us, something
There
like
it
that.
is. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And John Wick, and it's just like those are like the bar for me, like those movies. And so while this one, the first one, has like a lot of good action in it, I think where it kind of falters a little bit for me is just like the story. Like, I don't know who Rake is. Like, Tyler is what's his name? Tyler Rake.
Yes.
I, not as good as John Wick. Like,
Not quite.
I feel like they were trying to go for that, but yeah, it's like it's kind of bland characterization, and then it kind of expands in the sequel, which we'll talk about. But in the first one, it's like really kind of basic, like him just having visions and us kind of having to like fill in his backstory for the movie. Which it's fine. Like I said, the action is really solid, but it's just like in order to get there, I'm just like there's times where I'm just like, why do I care about this
Yes.
guy and this kid and those types of things? So, but
It's
I
true.
still like it overall. I still think it's pretty solid. What about you?
Nice. I mean, I agree, actually. I think I remembered so fondly loving it, and I think
Yep.
the things I remembered loving, I still love for sure. But I think you're right. It coming out right in the pandemic, it just made me have like a zest for life I was starving for. So I definitely over remembered how much I
hmm
liked it.
Yeah.
However, that is something that evolved as its second piece came into play.
Yeah.
But revisiting this one in particular, it did make me think the same. I was sort of like, I like that this has all of the makings of a big action movie. It like starts at the end so epically, so we know we're
Yeah.
headed towards this thing.
hmm
We learn a little bit about the kid themselves so that the stakes or the emotional story is like being planted. But like, this is a movie about action. This is a movie about the amazing stunts that these folks are capable of
Yes.
filming and capturing and choreographing. And so I agree, like, the story's not quite there, but man, the action, I just can't, I can't say enough about how amazing the action is and
Yeah.
how in the sequences, the way that it's being captured, it is unique, right? It's
hmm
not it's not quite Maverick, but it doesn't have the money to be Maverick and is still right there. Like
yeah.
right up there in terms of the crazy shit that we're watching. And yeah, I guess this movie is so hard because I like it so much, but I also understand it's not perfect. And I
hmm
don't know what to do with that.
I almost feel like too, like, okay, I'll ask you this question too, like if you thought there would be a sequel or not, because it almost feels like Netflix was like, we want to put enough money into this where there potentially could be a sequel, but also we're not sure if people are gonna like this. Like you can almost feel that like tension in it, like
Mhm.
especially when I'm talking about like Tyler's backstory and how you never see his ex-wife. It's almost like maybe in the sequel we'll get some hot actress to play his wife, which they do. Spoiler
Yes.
alert.
Yep.
But there's like that tension there. I kind of felt like this time around where I was just like, even Netflix probably didn't know if this was going to hit or not. And again, this was in 2020 to where like there was only maybe 20 movies that came out. So like technically this was probably like in the top 10 movies that year or something.
It's also
Yeah.
it's also hard because I don't know if the 2020 of it all has to do with the fact that we were starved as an audience,
Mhm.
or more that like only movies could only be made a certain way because of that too. So I feel like
Mm,
there are limitations placed on the filmmaking that the pandemic put in there that are going to be really hard to recognize, especially with time. Because I think that's exactly what I felt on the rewatch. I was like, man, this movie is long. Like, why
mm,
am I sitting still for this long when like there are sequences in this movie that I have to keep my eyes on the screen, and then there are,
yeah.
like, sequences where I'm like, by accident, right?
I had the same, yeah, like kind of wandering off, like, all right,
Mhm.
let's let you guys have regrouped, I feel like enough. Let's get back to the action. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, the strongest pieces are those action pieces, and I think that is what I like the most, the blood and the fast-paced stuff. That stuff still does it for me.
mhm,
So, yeah, I guess to move into those some of the questions,
yeah,
I agree, like not having a lot of story does mean that they had to rely so heavily on the camera being the main storyteller,
yeah,
which is okay. I think they do a good job, but I don't know, the found footage stuff was like a little much for me. I don't like how it just felt too in there sometimes, or too fast moving to the point where I was like, I'm missing something you wanted to show me. And so I think
mhm,
that definitely tripped me up. And I guess I am kind of feeling tired with the guns sometimes, where I'm like,
okay.
I just watched 4 movies of John Wick just to do every
The
and
gun fu,
anything. Yeah, so I think
yeah,
watching this too, I was like, "Damn, there's just, like, so many guns happening," which they make sense, like, they are definitely they need to be in this context.
mhm.
I guess I just didn't remember that being such a big piece of it before, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does, and, like, I was telling you, I read this book about the John Wick franchise, the making of, and that was one of the things they talked about, like, while making the sequel, like, John Wick 2 and the other ones, is, like, they wanted to do other things outside of the guns because they felt like audiences were gonna get tired of it, so that's why you get the knife fight in John Wick 3, that's when you get, like, some of those sequences, like, on the horse and instead of a car, like, trying to think like outside the box
Yes.
with it. And so, yeah, I do know what you are saying. I will say though that like, we'll talk about the performances, but I guess just to say that Chris Hemsworth as an action star, I feel like is underutilized at this point, which is like very weird to me because aside from like John Wick, like he has a very different like stature and build compared to like John Wick. So like in that respect, it's almost like you don't need to use the guns if you're Chris Hemsworth. He's like a foot
Yes.
taller than most of the people he's fighting. And
Yes.
so they do use that strength sometimes. And those are kind of like some of my favorite kills, honestly, is when he's just like using his bare hands or like pummeling guys or kicking guys. And
Mhm.
so I kind of agree with you. Like, what did you think about Hemsworth as a star of this franchise?
I completely agree with you. I feel like he has everything in him to be an action star, and I think it just got a little bit blurry because the superhero they chose for him is like a
Thor.
god rather
Yeah.
than a real guy. So that is what I love about this story, is that like it is really trying to be on the ground as much as possible considering all the other pieces. But I think like I agree that, he has something unique, and I don't know if they were planning a sequel because there's something about how, like, even his performance in the first one is
Mhm.
sort of like, I am dying.
Yes, like, but then they kept it. It almost felt like a reshoot where it's like we can't kill him off. We have to like leave it. If this does well, like I said, it's like they have a toe in the water of like,
Yes.
no pun intended, where it's like we might, if this does has enough viewers, we'll do a sequel. And we're
What
here
can
now, and they
Yeah,
did. So
how can you blame him, right? Like,
right.
I did want more, and I agree. I think Hemsworth is super underutilized. He doesn't get he's been in a lot of movies, of course, but he's not getting so many opportunities to, like, have his Die Hard, and, like,
Like he
this
has
is
comedy
his.
chops, and I feel like that's
Yes.
and he's very funny, and like so I'm happy that he gets to do that. But like also this dude's crazy in shape, so it almost feels like a shame that he hasn't been in more like action stuff. I did see one like I think it was called 12 Strong, where he's
Oh, yeah.
did you see that one?
I remember that one. Mhm.
And it was fine, but it was definitely not as much like action here, and it was definitely like just a straight up like patriotic Americanized story of where the hero is basically. But I do
Right.
like even just like the tactileness of like way he shoots people, and like disperses of like the gun, like two in the chest, two in the head, like he's really good at that. Like it's like there's only a select few people like Keanu and stuff that like
Mhm.
really sell that to me, that they're in that like type of life. So I really like him. I just wanted to get that out of the way, I guess, first. And I also like, last thing I'll say is that they let him use his accent, because again, that's another thing that's underutilized about Hemsworth. And it's like I feel like sometimes the realism and like, why would an Australian be in blah blah blah, and it's just like back in the day, Arnold never dropped his accent. This guy
No.
had an accent in every fucking movie. So it's like, I think it's okay for like some of these guys to just use their natural accent. Again, it's so he doesn't have to worry about that while he's like memorizing these gun moves and like choreography. Don't give him some extra shit to worry about.
Exactly, because that's not really what we're here for anyways.
No.
Like, I don't really care where this guy is from. I care what this guy is about. I care how cool this guy's gonna look when he kicks ass. And
Yeah.
I think that in the first one, it was a little bit more grounded. When he kicked ass, it was like it does feel like in every fight scene, it's like your life or mine, man. It's you
Yeah.
or me dying right now, and I want to
Yes.
die, so get ready.
It's like some Wolverine like rampage going on there.
Which
It's
I'm
pretty
cool with.
yeah, I'm specifically thinking of like there's one where it was like this was overkill. He did not have to go this hard, but he just stabs this guy like 3 times in the neck, like just for good measure.
Yeah, and he's like,
He's just like bah, 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 like stat like, and then the kid is in the background just looking like, what the fuck? Like
so good, so
it's
good.
it's pretty tough. Yeah, just I didn't have too many like, I guess, plot holes or questions. I mean, the obvious, like, there's no way that he survives that next shot at the end in real life.
No. No, there just like a dude can't fall off the roof of a building in downtown Manhattan and walk away. Like, I don't know why. I guess I wonder why they want the stakes to be so high if, like, in the end you can't really kill anybody.
Right.
It is kind of
Yeah.
weird how it's like, then stop making me go on the roller coaster because I'm just gonna get off at the end.
Yeah. And then the other one I had, like the big one that didn't hold up for me, is like the guy that works for his father, the kid's father, and like how he like they fight like brutally, like to the almost, like you said, like almost to the death, basically. Like he looks like complete shit when he goes into that hotel room. It's
Oh my god,
disgusting.
dude. Yes,
It's
he does.
horrific.
He does.
And then at a certain point, like Hemsworth just calls him up and he's like, I got the boy, like, let's meet up. And I'm like, what? Like, when did you get this guy's number? Like, it was very confusing. Like,
Yeah.
and it seemed like such an easy fix to where it's like they're about to kill each other and then they have a truce or something and they're like, let's work together. Like, I feel like that just would have been easy peasy. And then they went like this really convoluted way of like, and it was I had to rewind it. I was like, did I miss something? Is there
Yeah, yeah, I did have to stop and explain it because I was sort of like, "No, it's weird where the story is very simple as they say it to you, but it's actually super complex as it's
Yeah,
written,
I
because like
know.
it's about like a twist within a twist, but they don't get to hammer it that much.
No,
Like he
doesn't
doesn't
hit.
have the money, so he's going to fake it, which I guess is why he doesn't tell the truth about how like
I don't
he
know.
cares about this kid. It's true. It gets lost in the middle because again, we just want like badass fight scenes,
Action, yeah.
and they are good
They
to
yada
the
yada it
extent.
kind of like, yeah.
Exactly. They're like, whatever. If this guy dies in the end, like it doesn't quite matter. The story, like,
And it
meh,
really doesn't. He does, and it really doesn't.
And the morals of the first one are like pretty clearly blurry with like, I don't really
Mm,
care that this guy's like a drug dealer, like that
yes.
this is in a country where like I'm just gonna
Yeah,
murder
because
like
he
pretty much
says
half the population and with no qualms. I don't
he
mind that.
says at the end, he's like, that was another thing that was unclear. He's like, I had to, otherwise he said he was gonna kill my family. And it was just like, okay, well, like again, that wasn't explored or shown, or like it was just very
Say it
weird.
sooner. Like,
Yes,
say it
like
sooner, man. Like, don't, if you're fighting to the death with someone, be like, please, I want to save the kid. I'm doing this to help the kid.
yes.
There were, that's
They
what
needed
I
to talk it
felt.
out. They were being
Yeah,
bros, and they just needed to talk it out, have a
they
bro
did.
moment.
Yes. That's what I was
And it
thinking
was
the
missing
most.
that. There was no chemistry between them
No,
as two action bros, and I needed that.
I
And
needed
then
more scenes regardless, like more
yeah,
of those scenes together.
true. And then the last one I had is just like uh at the end, it just felt unnecessary for Hemsworth to go through that like hero I'm dying moment while he like because the kid is already across the bridge, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like that was the goal. They mission accomplished, mission
Yes.
complete. You guys can go home now. But then Hemsworth is like, no, I have to finish what I started. And he like goes back to kill more guys, and it's like, bro. And
Yeah.
then
What are you doing?
obviously like the kid that they fight that he fought before comes back and shoots him, and like that whole storyline was just very weird to me too. So I don't know, it's just some of the storytelling is very sloppy to get to where they're going, but again, the action scenes to get you there are worth the journey. So
Yes. Yeah. The action scenes do the work, and the camera. I mean, you cannot beat the way the filmmaking seamlessly works with the action.
yeah,
It's just one of those things, too, where his mission, like as an actor and character, was to die in the first one, which
yes,
is a
yeah.
bummer because that kind of that he did
Yeah,
accomplish that.
that was one of my favorite lines or whatever, where I think you posted that too, where it was like you're just spinning the chamber, waiting to see where when the bullet comes or whatever, something like that.
Yeah. You're
And I
like
was,
hoping there'll be a bullet there.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So they did set that up, but again, it's just like the way they did it. I think the execution was a little sloppy. But did you have anything else before we get into like the more specific filmmaking of it?
I mean, I think I'm curious if like all nightclubs have some secret room where they torture people, because that does seem to be a trope
John
where
Wick, John
yes,
Wick.
every
Yeah,
action movie we've covered lately appears to have a secret back room where like really cool lights are still sneaking in the windows and there is torture taking place. So I don't know what to make of like how this movie didn't need those tropes, but they're still there. And so I guess that just shows it fits in line with the genre in particular. But yeah, I guess the
I do
redemption
love a good
storyline.
nightclub though in an action film. I gotta say, it never gets old. Every time John Wick is fighting in a dance club, I'm like, I kind of wish I was there. I don't. Does that make
Yeah,
me a weirdo? I don't know. Like,
it would be
not
fun.
like in the action, but just like maybe like on the balcony, like looking down, like oh shit, and they're like still
Yeah.
having fun though.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like if I were there, I might have different feelings about it
Right,
for
probably.
sure. Yeah, yeah, maybe I'd get in on it. Like, who knows? Like that's something that's kind of fun about this is it is being informed by movies like John Wick and The Raid. So
Yeah,
there are some really cool sequences where it does feel like there are walls of people coming at him and he's just cutting his way through them. And I think in the first one, that is like a really gritty and very dirty, and I feel
yeah.
like it gets cleaner in the sequel. So
Hmm.
before we kind of get there, you want to talk a little bit about maybe some of your favorite stunts and kills, or no, actually, let's talk about other people that were in this, because like there are random people who snuck in, like David Harbour. I completely
Yeah.
forgot he was here.
Oh,
Completely
so
forgot.
saying I knew it was like a famous actor, but I'm with you. I completely forgot who it was, and I was like, oh, David Harbour. And again, I also think that Harbour is underutilized in the action genre because very unique builds, also very tall. He was like my favorite part of Black Widow, which is like a movie I did not love, but like,
He
but
was
like,
good in it.
but just seeing him as like this like aged superhero, like I thought that was
Hmm.
perfect, and yeah, he's just always solid. So I kind of was bummed that he's only in that one sequence.
Yeah.
But he kills it. I think, yeah, like you said, uh I didn't want to believe that he was like bad. I think the first time I saw it, and they kind of do like the little fake out, which I like, where it's like a car pulls in and you're like, oh shit, and then it's like, oh no, it's just David Harbour coming back, and
Hmm.
these guys are old friends. He would never. And then like the more he talks and like the more they drink, and he's like, you should just kill this kid. It's like, whoa, okay.
What happened? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
How did
you'd be doing
he?
him a favor, really. And I'm like, dude, no, you're killing my buzz right now. If this is my drinking buddy, like, no, stop. Let's not talk about killing kids. Let's maybe keep that out.
Let's pull it back for sure. And I think that scene and his appearance here being what it was is further evidence that they were probably not planning a sequel.
Not, yeah.
Like, to use him this way and to not be able to have him come back in a sequel truly is not something they would have done if they knew,
Hmm.
right? Like, you don't want to
Yeah.
lose David Harbour if you don't have to,
Nope. Yeah, I'm completely with you. And then, honestly, not really a lot of household names aside from this. I mean, other than like the Russo brothers,
right?
worked on the script, which again, like I forgot about, because like honestly, their movies outside of the Avengers have not been good either.
Well,
So,
they haven't been it's like they haven't been
but they
able
don't
to
do action
actually
anymore,
nail. Yeah,
really,
they
outside
haven't
of
been able to
Extraction.
nail. Right, right. The gritty action is not something that I feel like they've ever actually been able to nail, because they do really good with like elevated, fun pop action
Yes.
and
Yeah.
funny meta action. But there's something about how like Hargrave comes up in here and is like, I've actually like been the one getting punched in the face. So
Hmm.
let me see what I can do. And I feel like I appreciate that here too, because there's an interesting collaboration where I know that the Russo brothers and Hargrave work together on Avengers films doing stunts.
Hmm.
So I know there's like a rapport, and I also know there's a rapport between him and Hemsworth. And so I think I kind of like how the first one feels equally as ambitious as the first Evil Dead, with like two best friends who are like, we're going to make a movie and we're going to do
Hmm.
literally everything we know how to do in this movie, because if we never get another chance, we're going to not miss anything. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that about this too, that like the Russo brothers still, I feel like, they're still looking to find their way back, but I like that Hargrave sort of edged out and was like, I'll take the lead.
Yeah, Hargrave, a stunt guy, similar to Chad Stahelski, in John Wick, in the John Wick
Mhm.
franchise, and those guys. So very good company to work on. And that was like one thing I watched some behind the scenes stuff. Again, there's no Blu-ray or anything for Netflix movies, which I hate. But
Right?
the stuff I could find, a lot of people seem to like appreciate that, like as a director and a former stunt guy, he was behind the camera in these dangerous environments. And so like they could trust him, they could trust each other, that like, hey, I'm here to help you, and also I'm in the shit with you,
Mhm.
in case anything goes wrong, I'm also going to get hurt. So
Yeah.
especially like the one video I watched was in the Warner car chase sequence, which I think is really well done, and they outdo themselves in the sequel with this
Mm.
the one take, which we'll talk about.
Oh
But
yeah.
in the first one, in the car chase, like the hands offs through like windows and stuff, and like the 180, and
Yes.
the director almost got hit, I guess, with the car. As like
It
the car
appears
is doing
like
the
it.
180, like it gets very close to the lens, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's like one of many sequences where it's just like, damn, I didn't know. The other one too, where I guess somebody got hurt, was when they were him and the guy his dad worked for. I still don't even know his name. Like that's how forgettable this guy is.
Yeah.
But
I
they're fighting and they both fall off the roof and onto the street. It's
Yes.
right before the car chase, and I
Yep.
guess one of the stunt guy for him broke his foot on the way down, and then did it again after that because he was like just such a badass, and then hit his head on the truck and had a concussion or something.
Taking it a little too far.
But then the tape they used was the one where he broke his foot. And I think it was just because he got too close to the truck on the ground. He was supposed to like fall in front of it, and he ended up falling onto like into it.
Yep.
It was like,
oh
ooh.
yeah.
And you can like when you watch the movie, it's like, damn, that they really fell off that shit.
Sure did. I mean, this movie is another great reminder of like why there needs to be an Academy Award for action.
Stunts.
Yes,
Absolutely.
there has to be.
And this would be the perfect year
recognized.
because you have Extraction 2, John Wick 4, and Mission Impossible coming out very soon. So
Yes.
this is
And
a perfect year.
Don't forget Fast 10, right?
I haven't seen it.
I'm totally talking shit. I mean, there's good stunts in it, but I just mean there are lots of entries as to
It
why.
is funny though, because how many people get hit with cars in this? And I was thinking of Fast and Furious, because that guy, like we said, looks like he just got out of like a car accident. Like that's what you would look like.
Yes.
Arm broken, face completely red and purple.
Smashed up, need to break your own nose. Like,
and then you got Vin Diesel like flying from freeways, and he gets out completely clean, no sweat, no dirt.
Exactly. Buff,
two different tones completely. So yeah.
And yet, if you can give me an action scene that looks legit, I want it to be recognized. And especially in this one, not having the budget, but being able to give me like stuff where there were audible moments in this movie, both in the first and second, where I was like, oh, because of something that happened. So
let's talk about that. What was your favorite stunt / kill before we move on to the sequel?
Okay. Let's see. This is hard. So
I know.
I guess I like the motorcycle stuff. I like motorcycle stuff in these action movies because I think motorcycles get better and better CG, where they really do look pretty gnarly, but I know there's still people on them. So I think those for me are stunts I really, really still resonate with. And I did really like the kid gang part.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
Oh
and
my God.
Yeah, him. I guess I'm like
that was a motorcycle stunt. He puts the pole through the spokes of the bike.
Yes, and it turns out there's a fucking kid on there.
Pretty unrealistic in reality, I was thinking, but like, I mean, it still was like, oof. If you were in that accident, like the kid was like, my ankle's broken. I was like, you wouldn't be talking if that was real. Like you would be knocked out, like for sure.
Yes, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I like that a lot for sure. And just a movie where an adult like is allowed to beat up children is so funny. So
yeah, my favorite line in that, I had to run it back. It was so funny. My favorite line is at the very end of the fight when like the leader of the kid gang who ends up shooting him at the end, he just like slaps him in the face and he's just like, oh, piss off. Like he's like all angry about it.
Yes.
I'm like, that is why you keep the Australian accent, for that line delivery in particular. That's why you keep it, because it just does not sound the same in an American accent. It would not have hit the same.
No, he wouldn't be allowed to be that authentic. And I know that's a hard thing. And I know accents are a weird part of acting and they get in the way in really weird, sad, unfortunate ways. But there's something just about how I don't even think about it as an accent if you let the actor have it and they're not, chewing on it. It's not like he was like, piss off, mate.
Yeah.
Like he just was himself in this moment with this other kid. And they're the children of this movie. Like, to go back to some of the performances, the kids in this movie were pretty tits. They were all good. The kid he was bringing out, and also the kids in the
There were
gang,
several moments where like they almost could have killed him. Like and they were all kids. And I was like, what are they like trying to say about this? Like,
this is gnarly.
If he wouldn't have killed that kid at the beginning, then he wouldn't have got shot in the neck at the end. Like, it was, the messaging was
It's true.
Uh,
I am curious about, yeah, there is like a weird storyline in here of like, what are we to make of young men being raised in violence? There's
yeah.
like a quick question about
And
that
then the
in
drug
both of
dealer
these
throws the kid
films.
off the roof. That was the gnarliest. Like, holy shit. I was
I could
not expecting
I did not remember that, and when that happened, I was like, "Jesus, what?"
that.
I did not remember that
And
either, but that
almost cuts
was
the kid's
hard.
finger off. Like they talk about it a lot. Like that's all their
He
dialogue
makes the
together.
kid cut his own fingers off.
Oh, that's right. He
It is
does.
gnarly. Yeah,
He
the
does in the
the
table scene.
treatment of
Yeah.
children is interesting in this
Yikes.
one, considering I guess like how important they are to the story. You know, like Hemsworth's suffering has to do with the fact that he lost his son and he is now trying to help someone else not lose their son while another guy is trying to not lose his son. There's so much going on about men and their
Yeah.
relationships to the younger generation of men. And so I think that's just an interesting thing in this movie to me.
All right. I'm gonna go through mine real quick because I want to talk about the sequel for sure.
Please, yes.
Mine's like a fucking 5-way tie of best stunt slash kill because it's
Let's hear
like
it.
I think the whole sequence that I like the best was when he first extracts the kid from that
Yes.
like apartment building, because it's just like it's what I love in action movies. He comes in unfazed. You know, they point the gun at his head. He takes the guy's cigarette and he just like blows it in his face. Like just and then just completely like I just wrote all of them down. Like they just completely up each other. He suplexes a guy onto his neck. There's a
Yes.
coffee mug to the face. He puts a rake through a guy's neck and then later on puts a guy's face through the rake, through the broken rake.
Yeah, I had that one too. That's so good.
And then he kicks a guy, the last one, through like this hole in the wall, and his neck fucking like breaks. Like so much neck breaking in this movie. It was like
Yes.
very and then I guess favorite kill was tough too, but I did like how the girl like that was like you know, on the comms with him the whole movie
Nick.
gets that headshot at the end. And I was just like, fuck yeah. I love when they can incorporate snipers into it. And I also thought they underutilized her in the first one, and they kind of give her a lot more to do in the sequel, which we can talk about right now if you're down. Yeah.
They totally course corrected in the
Yes.
sequel for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I think there were just too many kills to try and identify
So
the best
many.
one
Oh my
here.
god.
But they were really creative, and I
Yeah.
do think they stepped that up in the second one too. Like
He does kick he punches a kid in the chest and he like flies back like 4 feet. There's just so many good ones. I'm just thinking of them now. Like,
yes,
ah.
yes. Yeah, the rewatchability of the first one, even though it's not a perfect movie or something, is still really high. It's
I mean,
still
just fast
always gonna
forward
be
to the action
amazing.
scenes if you don't feel like rewatching the whole thing. Like that would be
Yeah.
my recommendation. Yeah.
And that'll be easy because you only
Yeah.
have to wait like 5 minutes in between
Right.
each of them anyway.
It's still majority of the movie.
Exactly. But yeah, to get into the second one,
Yes, let's do it.
yeah, I really liked it. Just really quickly, the second one, somehow Tyler has survived the injuries he sustained in the
We'll
first
get into
film,
that.
and he's back. And this time now it's someone from his past, so it's actually someone in his life that he needs to go back and
Yes.
recover from inside a prison.
Mhm.
And also from the grips of a toxic family dynamic, which
Very
I didn't
toxic.
see
Yeah.
coming for the story.
Did not
Because
either. Did
yeah,
not either.
as you tapped earlier, you know, the story of the first one is a little bit flimsy, and the story of the second one is interesting. What what did you think? You know, like
At
what were your takes from number
at the
two?
very least, yes, very interesting. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was way better than the first one. Honestly, I was kind of like I had heard about the 20-minute oneer or whatever, so I was looking forward to that. But
Mhm.
like I just wasn't looking forward to just like how much they would kind of amp up the action. I think they definitely had a bigger budget on the sequel, like all around. Like
Mhm.
you know, so many helicopters and shit, like skyscrapers, trains, like all that stuff. So yeah, the first one was like you know, a lot more grounded, I guess, and like, you know, like the raid, like we talked about. And so the sequel,
Yep.
they definitely opened it up a lot more. It almost felt like more of a Mission Impossible movie compared to the raid of the first one. So
I was like, if he looks up and he goes,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're there.
But yeah, I liked it. I'm with you. You know, and I thought the story too, like, yeah, brought it around. Actually, cast an actress, so it wasn't just like someone that was like in the ether that we didn't see
Mhm.
ever. Um, Also another kid that I didn't really like in the sequel. Like, oh my god, fuck that kid so hard.
Yeah. That's why I'm so curious about, like, the through line of there being, like, a piece of
These
shit young
children.
kid who fucks it all up at the
Yes.
end. What are we saying?
Because like especially too with that line where he's like when he's finally with his uncle and he's like, "You're not gonna kill my mom, are you?" And it's like, "Uh, what are
Of
you
course I
thinking?"
am. Of
Yes.
course I am, dude. Come on.
Fucking kids, man. Oh my
They
god.
are.
I,
Mhm, mhm.
that's the through line of Extraction.
It's true, which I think is why I appreciate that there's room to beat those kids up a little bit
A
every
little
once in a
bit. Just
while.
smack them around a little bit, you know.
And yeah, I liked that in
Oh
this one we
man.
did get a little bit more of an expanded world where we did get to see more of the character that was in his ear in the first one, and that they were like
Yes.
much more tag teaming it this time
Are you
around
shipping
too.
them? I'm shipping them. They need to.
Yes, I was
Yes.
like, why haven't
I
they? I
know.
was confused
Oh.
about that because I figured the whole way through the first one, like that if he didn't die, that like that we were gonna get that
Yeah.
because that's
Because you
classic
can
action
tell
movie.
that's how good actors, you know, they are, that you can tell that they're kind of hinting at something, you know, together where it's like, why does she care so much about him? Why does he care so much about her? There has to be
Mhm.
something else other than them just being friends. And yeah, especially at the beginning here where he's in a coma. And they honestly they could have just cut out that or that first 15 minutes where it's like him recovering because it's just like, dude, like again, that's kind of where like some of the realism aspects of it, where it's like there would be no way you survived, honestly, if you just started from point one, like where you guys are together doing missions again. I would have been completely fine with
You should
it.
have done that so that
Yes.
there's no way I would have even remembered that
Right.
stuff from the first, especially because they said they were like at the very end of the first one, they're like 6 months later, he's
Yes.
gonna be standing outside of a pool. And we never saw that,
We
but
never
we did
saw
see him in
it.
the hospital. So where in the
I
6 months
know.
did this story take
Very
place?
confusing. Very confusing.
Yes,
And then
a
like
little.
him rehabbing and then like that whole it was just
Yeah, like part of stuff that I absolutely agree. We would totally could have yada yada and I would have
just
trusted.
cut that whole opening. One person I'm so glad they brought to this franchise, Idris Elba.
Yes.
Hell fucking yes. Brought so much gravitas to his like, you know, giving him the mission, and then again kept his accent, which thank you. Like, leave these guys' accents.
Yes.
It was so fun. You know, like him, I loved him like Tyler Rake. That's a fun name. Like just
He has such a good
just giving him
personality.
shit. Yes, like I'm
He
like
knows these movies.
it's because some of the more generic action movies, it's just like there's no personality. Here's your mission. Blah 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 blah. You gotta pick this kid up, and like no, Idris Elba's an asshole. He like downs the whole Stella. That part made me crack up too.
Yeah, he's like looking him up and down and being like,
Yeah,
"I'm not really sure why everybody thinks you're so
right,
special." You know,
exactly.
they're
Yeah.
yeah, he brings a gravitas to it. And also I love that they get to work together again because he was
Mm-hmm.
in Thor also. So I like
Oh
the little
yeah,
throwback of them
I
now
completely
getting to
forgot about
play. I know,
that.
right? It's cool that he gets to be in all the franchises. I ride for
Heimdall.
Idris.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I was like, I'm not even gonna try to say whatever the name was. I can't do it. But
um,
yeah, him being there was pretty dope.
I mean, and we didn't put the stunts and kills, but honestly, if we're doing the stunts, it has to be that 20-minute oneer. Like the fact that they pulled that off. Like I watched again, I had to look up behind the scenes of it, and they practiced for like weeks, like before that and months before that to get, and they did it in like pieces, which I
Mhm.
thought was really smart because like he has to go into the prison, break them out. Yeah, they have to go through this like prison riot, which was like so fucking gnarly. Like
Yes, it was.
he kills the guy with the dumbbell in the face. God, just
So good.
goes through that. Then they're in a car or whatever to flee. Then it's on a train.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Then they're in a warehouse, and then I think that's where it ends. But like 4 locations.
Yeah, nonstop. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the action was top tier in the first one, and the way it was woven together with the filmmaking was already perfect. So it
Mhm.
was just easy for them, I think, to take that and translate it here. Because I agree, like that long sequence, I was like, I feel like I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, I'm at home, and I don't even want to pause it because I can't
Yeah.
miss how awesome this momentum is.
Yep.
And I think my favorite kill is when they're in the like tall skyscraper building and he starts using the like weight machines to like wrap
Mhm.
people's heads
Yep.
around wires and
I
like
was gonna say the
squash them.
dumbbell is not the only exercise equipment that he uses in the movie too, because then
It's
I don't
pretty
know like
awesome.
what he like kicks it and then it like falls on the guy who's on the bench or whatever. Like,
Yep,
oof,
he's like wrapping people's heads and then like they're going like
yeah,
just clever and creative. And then
yeah.
also when they're like on the outside roof, the glass roof, and they like shoot panels out
I
from
really like
under,
that. I
like
thought that was really effective too, where it's
it's
like
true.
it wasn't like Fast and Furious levels of unbelievable until he gets shot in the hand while he's like hanging on. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on.
But aside from that, I did feel like it was like, you know, the physics of it kind of made sense. You know, he's say, you know, the again, the hinting at the relationship. He's like, this girl must mean a lot for you. And so like I thought he was gonna shoot her, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I really want her to come back, and again, for them to have some type of relationship. I mean, the him and his ex-wife kind of
I wasn't
mutually,
sure. Yeah, when they were like introducing the ex-wife in this story, I was like, wait, because I want something else. But
yes.
they didn't
But I
push it.
think right, I think they closed that up. I think if she doesn't return, the ex-wife, but then him and
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
that's like the last chapter of his life that's come
yes.
to a nice close by helping her family and then like, apologizing for the things
And I did
he
like
was
that was I
carrying.
thought that was really effective more so than the first where, you know, in the first he's opening up to the kid about what happened to his son. You find out that he had cancer and he left,
Because
and
he
you know
couldn't watch.
that's the last memory I have of my son. But then in the sequel we get the reveal that, you know, he didn't remember you that way, he remembered you as a hero. And I was like, oh god, yes.
That's what he hoped
Yeah,
for.
that was pretty dope. That they again, I feel like that was resolved, and like, okay, now if he can move on to this new relationship, I would love for that to happen.
And like, even if your movie
Because
is
they're
gonna
both
focus
badass.
yes, yes. And
Yeah.
even if your movie's gonna focus mostly on the action, what makes a good action movie more than just an action movie is the emotional storytelling. And even though
Hmm.
here it's like a little bit flat in the first one, it's still something they pay attention to. It's still something they care about and a motivating factor in the background. And that's what makes a movie that could just be about a bunch of guns and blood about something else, where two people are talking about, it's a lot easier to murder people I don't know than to watch a person I love die. And
Yeah.
like that's a kind of statement that people don't think about when they watch an action movie because it's easier to just be like, get this violence out of here.
Yeah.
It's much easier to hate on an action movie. But I have to say, I admire that they're trying to make it more emotionally viable.
Hell yeah. And then last part I really loved, and I hope they continue this, is like when he's retired for like 2 seconds and he has all the animals on the, on the farm.
He's like,
His little cottage, he has like chickens like coming around everywhere, and it's like, oh man,
I mean,
yes.
that's another way. Like I can't wait for the third one when they roll up to the farm and he's like milking the cow
Oh,
and
and
is like,
his
what's the
dog,
mission?
he gives the what was like the Versace shirt to the dog or whatever.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Just
honestly, that's
fucking
one
great.
surprise because I will say this franchise definitely has legs, but I'm interested to see if they can hold those legs because you can only not die so much before people
Yeah.
start to feel like, all right.
I and then yeah, the brother, you know, that whole thing was like whatever, but I was like those two at the center of it, they need to be the stars of the franchise. I think they're
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
she's badass. The
Yes,
the
she
stunt
was
people, made her look equally as good as they made him look in stunts. So there's
dude,
just no
she
reason.
was like even though she was like taking so much so
She's
much
get-
bullets and shit, she was like, you know, stab like again, use because we're talking about the differences in the builds or whatever. She's smaller than the guys, but she's like climbing them. She's like stabbing them in the
Yes.
legs and like fucking using whatever she can. So yeah, she was dope. I thought like her in this one was like definitely improved for me.
And I like that they had that awareness, because like
Yeah.
in the first one, he did lose a couple of team members, so there was like a hesitance I
Yeah, that
got.
sniper guy was pretty dope.
Mhm.
They lost him in the beginning, and yeah.
So yeah, I think there are legs here, and I'm excited to
Mhm.
see what else we do.
Extraction
But
3.
yeah, I mean, I know there'll be one,
Yeah,
right?
there
Like,
probably
I know
will.
there'll be one.
I think it's
Mhm.
it's still like the number one movie on Netflix right now. And what did it come out like last week, maybe?
Yeah, it's
Or
been like a few weeks now.
okay, yeah, there we go.
It contends.
Hemsworth,
Yes.
baby, let's do it.
Yes. Awesome. All right. I mean, anything else before we kind of round it out and skedaddle out of here?
No, I have. Yeah, we're good.
Awesome. All right. That wraps it up for us. Let's remind the people where they can find us.
All right, get your action fix and follow us at We Stay Buff on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Got a review for Barry coming soon on there. Make sure you tune in for that, our first TV show review. Follow me on Twitter at rampage_misfit, and then my movie page is at misfit_minded on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And please leave a review. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, always and forever. And you can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at It's Me, Shani B. All right. Thanks again for
Yes.
listening. Hope to catch you next time on another edition of Movie Buffs. Stay buff.
Piss off.
Yes. All right. Let me end the broadcast.